Welcome to Business Beyond Borders, the go-to podcast for CPA firms seeking transformative insights. I'm your host, Laurence Whittam, and with each episode we'll uncover key insights, best practices, and invaluable resources tailored for CPAs. From trending strategies to diving deep into outsourcing and offshoring, our experts will help in all areas of your business. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Business Beyond Borders. So today I have Joe Manganelli, and if I mispronounce that, you can correct me in a minute, but I'm pretty sure I got it right this time. So, but we had a good chat the other day, and Joe's come on to share a little bit about their software Amalgam, which is a software that's actually able to help with the efficiency of the firm. So, and again, this is a software that we can think about how do we make ourselves better? How do we improve the amount of time people are spending on different tasks within the firm so that we don't necessarily have to keep growing from a people perspective? Technology is obviously vitally important, and we've just in this time where technology has been improving so quickly that it's important to look into different ones. So, Joe, I appreciate you coming on. Can you share a little bit about yourself, about the software as well, just to help us all out?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, Laurence. And I will commend you. You did a good job pronouncing my name. It's Joe Manganelli. And yeah, happy to give you a little bit of background. The story starts a little bit before Amalgam. Prior to Amalgam, about 7 years ago, I started a firm called Calculate, which was an outsourced accounting and finance firm really focused on emerging businesses. And that business went pretty well. We grew it to almost 50 people over that 7 year period. And then I eventually sold that business at the end of 2023. But within Calculate, we noticed there was a lot of inefficiencies and sort of less than effective ways of doing some of the work that we were doing for our clients, particularly with managing and manipulating the data sets that we had. And so we started to write some scripts, and that turned into more code base. And then it really built itself into a platform today that has become Amalgam. So originally, we're building a tool within ourselves to make our company a bit more efficient in people. And then eventually realized that a lot of other accounting firms and other users of data can be efficient too. And we spun that business out a couple of years ago from Calculate. So since then, Calculate was sold. I've left that business, and I've stepped into a more active role with Amalgam, where I'm the chief revenue officer there, really overseeing the sales, marketing, customer success functions. And yeah, would love to tell you about the product. Really think about it as sort of a single sign-on to connect all those disparate data systems that you're using within your team. Let's say you're a controller or an accountant, and your clients are using Gusto and Stripe and Shopify and QuickBooks and all of those different things. They don't necessarily talk to each other the way you want them to. To be able to grab those in sort of a single sign-on, be able to pull that data into your workbooks or other places, and be able to manipulate that as you need and get that up into your general ledger, report on that, do all those types of things. That's really the core accounting function. It really enables folks to do that. And so that's kind of the core of it. I'm sure to have more questions and thoughts around that, but I have a tendency to ramble, so maybe we'll just pause there for now.
No, it's perfect. So, well, you're good for a podcast then. So, but no, can you go into maybe like just a couple of use cases? Because obviously we've talked about in terms of it's probably best for really like finance professionals, accountants, bookkeepers, more in that accounting role rather than necessarily tax or audit or anything, right?
Yeah.
But can you go over a bit of the use case and also some numbers in terms of that efficiency improvement side of things?
Yeah.
Like what are those numbers? Like how can you give us a couple of examples to help?
Yeah. So maybe one like classic example for us that's sort of analogous to the work that Calculate used to do is, let's say you're an accounting firm and you act as sort of the outsourced controller for them. Let's say you have a client that sells an app. That app is sold on Apple Pay, or through Apple, through Android, through Stripe, three systems that don't talk to each other, don't have similar data structures. You can really build a workbook with Amalgam to be able to go out and connect to those disparate systems, download the data in a standard form, be able to take that information, manipulate it, and then also directly connect with your general ledger, whether that's QuickBooks or NetSuite or something else. Be able to create your deferred revenue journal entries and book your revenue as appropriate. And then also on the backside, report on that. You can pull down your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow, things of that nature. Being able to process those reports and then PDF them in a nice, convenient package and send them off to your client. So really thinking about a bit of automation, a lot of streamlining that goes around kind of the monthly close process. And so go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and just to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really like bringing a lot of these applications into Excel, right? So obviously a tool that we try and now every accountant uses on a day-to-day basis, but before we started pushing people away from Excel because it didn't necessarily have the functionality across these different softwares. But now it's pulling essentially all this back into Excel, right? But being able to utilize the power of the tools that you're currently using. Yeah,
that's right. And really philosophically for us, though I think you're alluding to Excel sort of sometimes seems like it's a bad word because it's, if you will, an older technology. But the thing is, it really works, right? And it's really flexible. And especially when you're in the client service space and like clients change their mind a lot or a business changes and you need to be dynamic, we've sort of leaned forward towards Excel. Another kind of philosophical difference for us is there's a lot of great FP&A softwares out there, a lot of great tools that sort of standardize things or give you kind of fancy reporting. But that tends to be the last, 5-10% of our work. The real 90% of the work is gathering the data, making sure it's in the right form, being able to check that against other sources, and being able to sort of manipulate that as you need to report off of it. So that's kind of philosophically how we've been aligned, and everyone uses Excel. It's not going anywhere. And maybe that leads into a little bit of the other half of your question of like where the time savings is. And I think it comes in two parts. First is it's a real simple program to understand and learn. It's just a toolkit pops up on the side of your Excel or your Google Sheets, and you're using it right through there. It's super intuitive. There's really not much training that has to go on with teams when they adopt it. And so that's number one. And second, being able to connect across all these systems and for all these different clients, if you're dealing with multiple clients, we see a pretty significant time saving. So I'd say, our weaker users are saving between 10 and 15 hours a month, but our stronger users are saving 20 to 25 hours a month. And so you think you're extrapolating that across a team, you've got a team of 10, you're basically creating another 1 to 2 headcount per month out of across a team of 10. So pretty significant time savings and efficiency gains for folks who are adopting Amalgam.
Now, and what level of person do you see more so using this, right? From that vision perspective, is it bookkeepers within the firm? Is it the CFOs in a firm? And again, it may be everybody's using it to some extent, right? But where do you see like the majority of that sort of time savings coming, and at what level?
Yeah. And so I think it's pretty broad. I think the probably biggest savings are across sort of your like staff accountant controller levels, your associates, your senior associates, your managers, the ones who are really getting in the nitty gritty and doing a lot of that work. For more senior folks, whether it be sort of your senior managers, partners, or your kind of CFOs, still usage there around more of the reporting output, being able to review others' work. So definitely savings around that. And then there's other applications as well. We're finding good applications in financial due diligence teams where they're creating their data books on an active basis. Good use cases within fund administrators, third-party admins for funds, and being able to reconcile those 40 different bank accounts across all of those fund entities and things of that nature. There's good use cases there as well. And I guess maybe can you list out some of the processes, right, that firms should really be thinking about, right, when they are coming to use this? I believe you mentioned the monthly close side of things. You mentioned sort of invoicing, right? Is there any other more specific areas that are really those identifying factors of, I do need to work on this process right now of this specific area? Yeah, for sure. And what we've tried to do even with our website is we have a section there of just sort of use cases. And we've even built templates that are, customers can use, or others who aren't customers can just pull. And I tend to be a little proud of my Excel formulas, so I'm happy to plug that as well. But I'd say things around doing your inventory, COGS, and revenue, right? Being able to take that from Shopify, understand what the sales were, both gross, net, discounts, sales tax, those types of things, book the revenue side, but then also book the COGS and inventory side of things. So that's a use case. I mentioned deferred revenue. That's a popular one. And you see that across technology businesses with sort of annual or multi-annual contracts, but then also services businesses when they have delivery at certain times. So to create a schedule, pull that information in, sending invoices, obviously at the top of that. Another great use case we find is let's say you're bringing on a new customer or new client, and let's say their financials or books aren't in great order, and you're converting them from cash to accrual basis. There's a lot of work that goes in there to be able to manipulate those transactions or change the timing of journal entries. So we have the ability to just download things directly from the general ledger. Let's say you want to look at every bill that's ever been sent or every journal entry that's in the general ledger. You have the ability to download that, review those, edit them, and then update them directly to the general ledger, all within Excel. So it's a lot more efficient, a lot of less clicking around and waiting for a web-based system to load or something like that. So there's another great use case for you where you may have 100 hours of time to transition the books from cash to accrual, where we're usually able to cut that in about half for all that sort of downloading and clicking around we're able to remove.
Okay. And now when it comes to just new technology in general, coming into a firm, right? What I found is it's quite easy to get, right? But it's quite difficult to implement, right? And especially if you've got a larger team, it becomes more and more difficult to implement software across. So can you, what is the way that you guys help with that aspect of it? What is that sort of onboarding phase look like for Amalgam, yep, right? And what support do you give firms, or is it quite just easy to sort of get into? And what does that sort of ramp up time look like essentially for?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I'd say I would answer that in sort of two parts. I'd say one is just the sort of mindset. I think one of the challenges of our space is we are generally process-driven people, are very focused around process, and we're usually proud of the processes we've built. And a new technology requires us to rethink or change or update those processes. So I think one of the great things about Amalgam is it's super fluid to adopt, but I'm still asking a set of accountants to change the processes that they've done, even if it is a light lift. And so I think the kind of the psychological part of that is a big step. But then the other side to sort of how we get around that is we really focus on being really close with the teams and a high level of service, and then just illustrating the value. So a lot of times when it comes to the implementation side of things, it's not necessarily too formal. It's pretty collaborative in the sense, but what happens is my team and I will actually get in the weeds with the new customer and say, okay, what are some of the problems you have? And during those first few weeks and months, we actually go ahead and we'll build the standard monthly close template for them, or we'll help them construct a way to book the inventory properly, or things to that nature. I recently built for a new customer a 13-week cash flow template for them. And so about half of their clients do some sort of cash flow monitoring on an active basis. And so we were actually able to build that together. So A, they're getting value that's above and beyond the software itself. They're actually getting a template we're building for them. And B, what's really important for me is that they're able to sort of adopt and see the tool and how it works in a hands-on manner.
Now, and then do you have, I guess, any type of return on investment that you guys sort of see from this? Because obviously we talked about the productivity side, right? You talk about the savings aspect of time, right? In general, I mean, is there anything that you can share about that? Is there any expectations a firm should have if they're coming into this from a cost perspective, what that looks like, to what the results will look like from that cost savings to actually a dollar figure as well?
Yeah, for sure. So our structure in terms of fees varies depending on the needs and the firm itself, but typically it lands between about $100 and $300 per user per month. And so even if we're just going to use a rough estimate here of $100 per hour is a rate, and I think a lot of firms are probably charging more than that for their base rate, we're talking about just needing 2 to 3 hours per month saved per person to be able to break even on that. And so when I'm talking about users who are getting 10 to 25 hours worth of savings, we're talking about ROIs that can be in the 10x range. So if anything, you can be critical of me that we should be charging more on the side of what our product brings. I think we're just eager to get it in more people's hands and expand it because it's a really strong tool. But that, I think, right there tells you if you're just saving a couple hours a month, you're able to get the benefits of Amalgam. Never mind some of those higher level, like kind of 10x returns that we're seeing with some teams.
And I guess from the integration perspective, like is it really any software that can be put into it, or are there limitations to that integrating side of things? Like I would assume like the typical ones, like certain functions from QuickBooks and things like that can quite easily go in, but is there anything that has to be custom integrated as of right now, or is it really quite open source or whatever the case is?
Yeah, it's really wherever there's an API that's available for us to connect to, and then we can actually build custom reporting onto that. So like we're connected with QuickBooks. There's a lot of QuickBooks Online users and customers out there. We actually have built some of our own reports that don't even exist in QuickBooks that we're actually able to do that. And sometimes customers come to us and they want specific reports, and we can make custom things for them. So really the only limitation is if there's a certain organization that doesn't allow their API to be accessed, then it's going to be a bit more difficult. But the tools, especially the cloud-based tools we're using on a regular basis, and I've mentioned some of those, the Stripes and the Shopifys and things like that, the QuickBooks and NetSuites, like those are all very much readily available and stuff that we're connecting to. Okay,
cool. So, and then as we start to come to a close, I mean, what is there anything else that you want to make sure that is actually shared before we close out with everybody, just to make sure that they understand? And also, like, I guess what would those initial steps be for anybody? Like, is it best to go to the website and look over the software, or is it best to talk to yourself or somebody on the team about it? Like, what is that best first step to take?
Yeah, for sure. So the first question I'll answer there is really around like what I would want to add is just that I've been in the seat of building an accounting firm as well, and I think you really feel kind of resources are limited and sometimes don't know where to invest. I would say you can be intimidated by other larger firms investing a lot of money or consistent kind of news stories about AI. I felt that what we've done with Amalgam is made a really accessible way to make your firm more competitive. So to be able to, for a few $100 per user per month, be able to connect to a bunch of systems and save a bunch of time is really a low lift way of making your firm more competitive. And I know on this show we talk about outsourcing the work physically to another location or being able to make it more efficient. And I think it's a really effective way and cost effective way to do that. And then in terms of getting in touch with us, our website, you'll see get in touch or be able to just go on and get a free trial of the license and try out the tool yourself. Otherwise, there's multiple different instances where you can go to amalgam.me and be able to just submit a query, and I'll usually respond that day. You think I'm rambling now? Wait until I get you on a call one-on-one.
No, that's perfect though. I mean, it's and again, as Joe mentioned, it's extremely important. Again, even though a lot of this show is talking about, again, a lot of the outsourcing and offshoring providers and how we can access talent, like the element and the reason why I bring people like Joe on around the software side is because we also need to be looking at this, and there are opportunities for small firms and large firms to look into this new technology to help actually make our processes more efficient. If we're making our processes more efficient, it means we don't need to rely on as many people, right? So, and it's a combination of these different efforts that need to be thought about now if we're actually going to be able to really make an impact on the talent crunch that the profession has, right? And that's not just in public accounting, but that's in private business as well in the finance side of things. So it is important to go and look into a lot of this software, right? Just to see if it's a fit for you, if it's going to be able to help you out, even saving those set number of hours. Again, if it's saving 25 hours a month, right, across multiple people within your firm, again, that's a sizable difference, right? I mean, that's a big impact that it can play in the long run. So really appreciate it, Joe. And we'll definitely post your information. I appreciate you coming on to share about Amalgam. And we'll post the websites that everybody can visit. And thanks for joining. And we hope everyone had a good episode on Business Beyond Borders.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Business Beyond Borders. I'm Laurence Whittam, and it's been a pleasure bringing you impactful insights tailored for the modern CPA firm. Remember, the world of accounting is vast and ever evolving, and we're here to navigate it together. For more resources and episodes, don't forget to subscribe and reach out to our experts. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your business and explore the limitless possibilities beyond borders.